This is the Influencer Entrepreneurs Podcast with Jenny Melrose, where I strategize with business owners on how to grow and scale their businesses to hit their income goals. This is episode 185 of the Influencer Entrepreneurs Podcast with Jenny Melrose. Today, we are diving into marketing an online store with Justine Wiggins of Worthy and Badass. I am so excited about this interview. I met Justine, which you'll hear a little bit more about in the interview, about 2-ish years ago at this point. I was searching for gifts for my speakers for Influencer Entrepreneurs Academy the very first year. And I had put out a Facebook post in a local group asking if anyone knew of anyone that did cuffs, bracelet cuffs that were empowering for women. And she was tagged multiple times and we forged a friendship. She made these beautiful cuffs, brought some of her jewelry that she makes. I have 3 of her necklaces that are hand stamped and absolutely gorgeous. She is just an amazing person and so very smart. So we are going to talk all about her marketing strategies for her online store and dive into a little bit about what the mission is behind her shop, Worthy and Badass. Let's dive in. Hi, Justine. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Very good. Thank you. I am so excited to talk to you and dive into this. We actually first met, it was last April for Influencer Entrepreneurs Academy. I was looking for cuff bracelets that were empowering for women, and I found you. Can you tell my audience a little bit about your business and yourself and what you do?
Sure. So I own a small business called Worthy and Badass. I started making jewelry back in college as a way, I think it was like a hobby, a way to make some extra money. And since that time, it's really blossomed into coexisting with my passion for women understanding their worth. So I've had several different business names. And a few years ago, so the business name was Worth and Beauty. I actually cringe to my core when I say that now, because it doesn't exemplify who I am anymore. Even though those words are great things for women to feel about themselves, I wanted something deeper and that evoked more emotion. So I actually joined the military when I was 24. And when I got home from basic training, I just thought, if I'm really going to get serious about my business, if I'm going to bring it back after being gone for the last 5 months, then I want it to represent me and how I feel about women. But I knew that I had a little bit of brand recognition with W&B, because that's always what I had called my business when it was Worth and Beauty. And so I knew I wanted, worth is a big deal to me. I have it tattooed on my arm. I think it is my turn your monster into your ministry, sort of my soul song for women. And so I was really having a hard time coming up with a B, what am I if I want to keep the W and B, what's my B going to be? And one day after a few weeks of sitting on it, it hit me like a freaking brick wall that Badass was the perfect, contrast to Worthy, but also how I felt about myself having joined the military, in my mid-20s and to be honest with you, being really good at it. And just, it was like that spunk I wanted women to know. So that's where it came from. And so since then, I've just been hardcore after making women feel badass.
I love it. No, so good. What branch of the military were you part of?
So I'm in the Army Reserve. I'm a military police officer, which, I don't know why I am sometimes. It's not a job that I am passionate about anymore. When I started, it was, but it is, maybe it's just where I'm supposed to be right now. I have 2 more years in my contract. For the longest time, I thought I might stay in longer. But in light of some things, I've just decided the military is no longer, where I want to be after the next 2 years.
And I love that. I love the transformation that you kind of went through. And I think that it goes back to your mission and your values. And we're going to get a little bit more into that. But let's first talk about how can people actually purchase your items? Because this is the part that I love.
Yeah. So several ways. The easiest way is probably to go to my website, worthyandbadass.com. But something that a lot of people, especially with the few thousand new followers I've gotten in the last couple of weeks, which is insane to me. I actually have a highlight bubble on Instagram where it walks you through ordering a custom necklace that's completely tailored to you. So I have a huge stamp collection. I do hand stamp my jewelry, and so you have all the options to create something that you want just for you.
Yes. And I am actually an example of that because I had reached out to you wanting a hand stamp necklace. And I actually have one tattoo, and it is, many people don't know this about me. So I'm sure they're going, wait, what did she just say? I have one tattoo, and it is the North Star. And that was always my like guiding light when I was in my 20s, trying to figure out who I am, what am I going to do? And I asked you, I was like, do you have something? I had one of my girls take a picture of my tattoo and send it to me. I was like, do you have something that looks like this? And that's what you did. You did a hand stamped necklace for me of the North Star. And it's just beautiful, gorgeous what you do. And I absolutely love it. So you have your website, Worthy and Badass. Are you also on Etsy?
I am. Yeah. So worthyandbadass.etsy.com will take you to my Etsy site as well. And I realized some people feel more comfortable, you already have an account with Etsy. You don't have to do, your shipping and everything. So that's why I keep Etsy there. It's for people who prefer to make that purchase.
Yes, no, absolutely. How are you marketing your online store right now?
Instagram is by far my most profitable and easiest outlet. It's my favorite social media. So I am constantly on Instagram. If you ever want to know like what I'm doing in my office or new products I'm working on, I'm always on my Instagram posting on stories and to my timeline. I do also, I invest in Pinterest marketing. So I did that. I think I signed my contract with Nicole Saunders a couple of months ago. So it's been really incredible to see traffic increasing through Pinterest. And then of course, Facebook mostly is just tied to my Instagram. So a lot of that is just residual. But those are my main outlets right now. And then a lot of people do find me through the Etsy marketplace. So there are a couple of items of mine that are top in searches. My acrylic keychains, the initial acrylic keychains are very popular on Etsy. And I think they're the first thing that pop up if you're looking for an acrylic keychain. So a lot of customers find me that way as well.
Okay. And you also know, obviously you're an online store, but you also do some in-person events as well. Will you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So I think last year I did upwards of about 100 events. And with steel stamps and all that it takes to be able to make the jewelry, it's absolutely exhausting. Bless my husband for the amount of times that he has, given up a Saturday morning to come help me set up somewhere. I do love in-person events, but with COVID happening right now, I've realized that I can have an online presence and I can still make money. So whenever we're allowed to have in-person events, I will go back to them because it's like really when I get to connect with my customer. But I am really going to get my Saturdays back, and my weekends, my evenings in general. And I'm going to find an equilibrium where I have time off because until right before quarantine happened, I was still working full time. I now work part-time for the same company. So I love in-person events, especially the ones that are successful, obviously. And I've learned, if anyone, listening would be interested in in-person events, I've learned that the ones usually that you make a larger investment into are the ones you see a better outcome from. So I'm not dissing any events by any means, but I've realized the ones where they say, if you want to come set up for $25, we'd love to have you. That's great. I just think that my business has grown to a point where if it's a weekend event for, anywhere from $200 to $500 to set up, I'm going to see a greater return for that investment.
Whether you're a seasoned podcaster or just thinking of starting a podcast, you need to listen to Buzzcast from the folks at Buzzsprout. Here we go! Buzzcast covers everything a podcaster should know, from marketing strategies and how to make money from your podcast to the latest and greatest tech and industry insights to keep you on the cutting edge. Follow Buzzcast by clicking the link in the description or go to buzzcast.buzzsprout.com and keep podcasting.
That's so helpful. No, that's perfect. I kind of want to go back to, first I want to know your handle for Instagram. What exactly is it on Instagram? We can make sure that everybody finds you.
It is at Worthy and Badass. Everything's pretty consistent across the board.
Yes. Okay. So you talked about Instagram, you talked about your highlights, and you talked about stories. How are you using those to sell? Because obviously the biggest drawback I always hear from clients, from customers, they're always saying to me, but Jenny, I only get one link. How am I supposed to talk about a necklace or talk about my product? And there's only one link. I can't change it every single time in my profile. Can you talk a little bit about what you found, how it's worked for you?
Yeah. This may not apply to people who are only on Etsy, because I don't think Etsy and Instagram have integrated. But I use Shopify. And so it took me a couple times applying. Honestly, I was getting really frustrated. But when I set up my Shopify, I continued to apply to have my shop on Instagram. And I think I did it 3 times before I was approved. And so because I now have that approval, I can tag my products in both my stories and in my timeline posts. And that has been a huge help to me. So I do love the Shopify platform. It's very well integrated into Instagram. And when I tag a product in stories, I can see how many times someone clicks on it. And those clicks are usually where I'm getting my sales. But what I've also noticed is, we're in a time right now where Black-owned businesses are being really pushed to the forefront, which is very cool. And I've been included in that. I'm very honored to have been included in all of those write-ups and posts and shares. And so I've also noticed that my link in bio, I actually have one of those where, when you go to it, it shows I've got my Etsy listed, my website, and then a few other small, links listed there. I've noticed a lot of people still, again, like I said, prefer to click on my Etsy over my website. So I make sure that my Etsy is always easy to find via the link in my bio. But again, having that Shopify approved website and being a seller on there has really increased my visibility for people to easily purchase, because they don't have to leave the Instagram platform to make a purchase if they want to do it right then through that platform.
Okay, so this is probably going to sound like a silly question, but because I don't have physical products, I don't totally understand the connection between Shopify, your website, and then Instagram. So do you have a Shopify shop that is integrated onto your website or not?
So Shopify hosts my website. Shopify is a way to have a website and products. They make it very easy. I don't know much about other, hosting platforms. I chose Shopify because it was specific to selling products and being able to have a website the way you want it. So if we're talking Etsy versus Shopify, I like that Shopify allows me to have an about page, and I can create the pages however I want. And, on Etsy, I like that there's a marketplace where you can be found if someone's trying to find something that, matches a search for your product. So it's a lot to juggle both. And some days I really wonder why I'm still doing it, but I have about equal sales on both platforms. So it's still worth it to me.
Okay. And because you have a Shopify website, you can then when you're doing Instagram, you can tag so that it automatically just click, they go to it.
Yep, exactly. Just like if you were to put a profile there, it would pop up if you clicked on, if you tagged someone in your story. I put my product button in Instagram, in stories, and in posts. And that's where I see a ton of people interact with my products.
And because of that, you don't need 10,000 followers then to have a swipe up.
No. So I can do a swipe up directly to my website, but I can't do a swipe up, to Amazon or something, just to my product.
Okay. And Shopify gives you that ability. Okay. That is extremely interesting. Wasn't aware of that. And I also have to tell you, I went to your website, obviously, multiple times and didn't realize that it was hosted by Shopify. I just assumed it was a website that you had built for yourself. So I think that fact, and it's very branded, like you go to your website and you know it's you.
Thank you.
So I think that's so great that Shopify is able to do that, and you have the ability to customize it and personalize it to really represent who you are in your products.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. In the beginning, we talked a little bit about where the name came from. Can you talk a little bit about your mission for Worthy and Badass?
So I mentioned that I believe in turning your monster into your ministry. So I have been through a lot. I was adopted twice. My second and permanent adoption was when I was 8. But I did come from a physically and emotionally and mentally abusive mother until I was 8. So I really didn't believe that I was worthy or badass for most of my life. And I think, a lot of women have the tendency to date men who don't appreciate them the way that they should. Or, they don't walk with confidence. I always got called out by my adoptive parents for walking with my head down or, just not carrying myself with confidence. And I want women to know that battle is something they can overcome, that, looking in the mirror and speaking negatively to yourself is something that you can overcome. It's something that I battle every day. I have by no means mastered knowing that I am worthy and badass, or that I have, a great body image of myself. But I think that if I can help other women through it, it helps me through it. And then maybe that sounds selfish, but I recently, one of my newest products over the last couple of months or few months is called Mirror Reminders. And they're just vinyl stickers that say, impactful words that you put on your mirror. And they have been insanely popular. And that came out of, honestly, me going through with my therapist, realizing that I speak so negatively to myself. And I wanted a reminder for myself to not do that, because it doesn't do anything, except tear me down. And so the one that people love the most and that speaks the most to me is, you wouldn't speak to any other woman that way. Because I think that for the most part, I've realized women really want to empower each other. Sure, in high school, women are ruthless to each other, but I think the older you get, the more you just genuinely want to see other women thrive. But I think that we have this narrative where we tear each other or tear ourselves down, and so I wanted to change the narrative and the words that I was speaking to myself. And that really just encapsulates why all of my products exist. If my sarcasm keychains make you laugh, then I've accomplished my goal. If my necklaces that have so much thought put into them, if they make you feel, if they, whatever stamp you choose, if it reminds you of your daughter or your grandmother or whatever it is, or if it says badass and it just reminds you that you can get through whatever you're going through, then I've accomplished my goal. So I do it in, a lot of different ways. I have a plethora of products, but they all have a purpose of making you feel better.
Yes. No, I love it. And you also, pre-COVID, obviously, I feel like every time I do an interview, I always have to say pre-COVID because everything's a little different right now. But you also hosted events. And can you talk a little bit about those? Because I attended one and it was amazing.
So I have been actually very grateful because of COVID that I had not planned one for 2020 yet, because I'd probably be in a mess right now. But in 2019, so the very end of 2018, I really wanted new product pictures and I wanted different women to be wearing them. I didn't want to be, like me trying to get my collarbone just right in a picture. So I wrote a post and said, I want to do a photo shoot. I don't want to qualify any women. I'm not going to say you have to be a model. I want all body types, all skin tones. So all that I asked was that women tell me why they're badass. Just send me a private message. Tell me why you're badass. That's all I want to know. And the messages that I got were amazing. Women who were going through cancer treatment and there was a woman who was overcoming bulimia. I just got these incredible messages of women just knowing like, I'm a badass because I'm overcoming all of this shit. And I thought, you know what? I'm not even telling me why you're a badass is no longer even going to be a qualifier. I want every woman to come. So I rented a beautiful yoga studio in Plaza Midwood. I had 2 professional photographers donate their time, and we had 40 women come out on a day that was pouring down rain and just get professional images of themselves. They were wearing my jewelry. That was one thing that I asked. And I got such cool pictures out of that. We also had a makeup artist and a hairstylist. Yeah, thank you. Come out. They donated their time, and it was just this beautiful few hours of women like getting to be in front of a camera and doing something they may have never done for themselves because it was free. So what I did after that, I hosted 2 more in 2019. It eventually became Calling All Badasses. And we created an event where women at an affordable price could get professional hair and makeup done and get professional portraits or headshots done by professional photographers. And so the marathon style approach made it affordable for photographers. Granted, they are taking a pay cut for what they would normally get, but I make sure that the photographers believe in our mission. And we've seen, I think ballparking probably 200 women have been photographed since I've done those events. And I have dreams of, post-COVID world, it being an event where a few hundred women come out every time we host it. And we just have photographers encouraging women. That's a huge thing that I ask them is that, a lot of these women are coming here, 1, because they may not be able to afford you on another day. And 2, because they're pushing themselves outside of their comfort zone to be in front of a camera. So I really push to the photographers to make sure that they're very encouraging. I even have a very small team last time of like pep girls. So like if we have a shy photographer and a shy, woman being photographed, that we have a woman who goes out there and is like, you look awesome. Everyone's doing great. A very good friend of mine, Devin, that is her like passion and skill. And I just pushed her forth, and she went out encouraging women all day. It was amazing. So I have loved hosting those. I want to host more, but again, very grateful that I was a little bit burned out at the end of 2019 after hosting 3 of them, and that I had not signed any contracts for 2020 when everything happened here the last few months.
Yes. No, and I was able to attend one of those events, and you're talking about that shy photographer and that shy woman having the photos taken. I'm like, she's talking about me. She's totally talking about me and my photographer. Because it wasn't Devin, it was actually Lindsay. I remember Lindsay was like on the side, and she's just coaching and talking the whole time, making me giggle. And that is exactly what it was. It is. It was very empowering. You had a beautiful event. Like everyone was so sweet, so nice. And I just think, your mission, that what you're trying to put out there is just one of the best ones that's out there. So I want you to know that.
Thank you.
Of course. So where are obviously the best places to find you? Definitely, obviously, Instagram. We said at Worthy and is spelled out, right? Worthy and Badass. We're going to link to all of this in the show notes, but I want to be sure if people are like driving and they're on a stoplight and they want to find out your Instagram real quick, they can. Where else are the best places to go?
My Facebook, if people just prefer Facebook, and art on Instagram is Worthy. And then the plus signs, that's the and that I use. I don't use the ampersand. I just wanted to stand out. And BA, because I can't have badass on Facebook. So it's Worthy and BA, if that's where you prefer to, absorb social media. My Pinterest is also Worthy and Badass, just like my Instagram. You'll find me there. And then again, website and Etsy. So those are all the places you can find me.
We talked about, I forgot, I should have asked this question already. I didn't though. We've talked about some of the items that you have. So let's talk about this really quick. Hand stamped necklaces, which I have 3. You also have the hand stamped cuff bracelets. We talked about the acrylic keychains, and also now the acrylic, is that what vinyl. You said.
Yep.
For the mirrors. Okay. Other items that we missed?
I do stationery, what I call typewriter stationery. I have a few, I have a couple very old typewriters, and I like to use those to make, again, very sarcastic things, sayings. One really popular one right now is, I'm sorry for what I said when I was hungry. And then I also have lots of earrings that I make. So I do those. with acrylic. I have all kinds of shapes. Another thing that I'm very proud about my business is that if you come to me wanting to create something custom, I'm going to work with you to create that. I'll let you know if the idea is not going to work, if it's going to break. You know, a lot of people want custom keychains right now, and then I have to remind them, like, keychains go through a lot of wear and tear. Maybe the shape you're thinking, we can adjust it a little bit. At one point, one of the earrings I was offering were hand stamped earrings, but those were not perfected yet. So I took a little break, but I've gotten a lot of requests for those. So I think that I will learn to perfect that design and I will come back with it. But it was really cool. People really loved the idea of also being able to customize a pair of earrings that were gold fill. And that's another thing, is any necklace that I make is all high quality metal. So it's very important to me. I use gold fill, rose gold fill, and sterling silver. They, may need to be cleaned, but it is a step down from solid gold. So the next step down, I mean. So affordable but high quality. That's important to me.
Yes, no, they're absolutely beautiful. And the necklaces, the chains that they're on are beautiful too. So no, definitely, I'm sure people have seen me in mine. I wear it all the time. Justine, I appreciate you so much for taking the time to speak with us. You guys, if you're listening in, you need to obviously go to her shop and go get something. You can, I promise you will find something that is amazing. And that's, if you want something personalized, reach out for sure. Thank you so much, Justine.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, there you have it. I truly believe that Justine is obviously extremely worthy and badass, but also that her mission that she has for her shop is just one of the best that you could possibly have, especially when it comes to inspiring and empowering women. So I want you to make sure that you follow her over on Instagram at Worthy and Badass. Also, if you're listening into the podcast, I'd love it if you took a screenshot and put it up on Instagram stories. You can tag me at Jenny_Melrose, as well as Justine at Worthy and Badass. I also want to thank you guys so much for the fabulous reviews that you've all been leaving. I wanted to take a second to read the review that Amy Katz left. She says, "It's like Jenny is talking directly to me. I look forward to listening to Jenny every Monday. Her content is always timely and relevant. Often I feel like she is reading my mind and telling me exactly what I need to know. This podcast is a must for all influencer entrepreneurs." Amy, I appreciate you so much for taking the time to leave that review. You guys, it helps so much when you leave a review and a rating. And if you could take that second to do it, I would so appreciate it. It helps me find new guests as well as audience members to join in as far as listeners. All right, guys, until next time, I will see you all then.